Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India. Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Namaste. Today in this session we are going to look at basics about building positive employee relations. Till now we were focusing our discussion on various HR processes and systems. In this session we are going to talk about the final outcome or desirable expectation of mature HR processes and systems as experienced by the employees and employers. So, this is mostly about the subjective experience of the employees about their organization. What is the meaning of employee relations? So, employee relationship management is the set of activities that involves establishing and maintaining the positive employee-employer relationship. And when we can say it is positive, we can say it is positive when it contributes to satisfactory productivity, it contributes to the employee motivation and morale, discipline, and which results into maintaining a positive, productive and cohesive work environment. As a management and HR students, you might have heard about Great Place to Work surveys or Forbes world's best employers survey, etc. These are the examples of the surveys which are conducted in the industry, which tell about the positive employee relations in various organizations. They give a benchmark. They also present a comparative account of what is the state of employee relationship, what is the status of employer-employee association and relations in various organizations. So, Great Place to Work looks at employee perception and managers perception. It looks at employee perception on credibility, respect, fairness, pride and camaraderie. And they also conduct a survey about managers' experience, the managers' experience about whether organizational objectives are being achieved, whether employee are giving their best, or whether work and whether employees are working or the people in the organizations are working as a team or as a family. Every year they conduct surveys and come up with the list of the best top 10 or top 20 and across the industries and within the industries, and then many organizations consider this a great honor to be to be in the list of the great places to work. Rightly so, because it gives them a good reputation in the market, it builds their employer branding, it also builds their reputation across the different stakeholders including suppliers, and if they are outsourcing companies including their partners or clients. Similarly, Forbes also conducts surveys Initially it started in USA and then they expanded their survey to various economies in various countries. In India also they conduct surveys. In the Forbes survey they ask very simple question from the employees, and that is sent to lakhs of employees belonging to thousands of organizations or at least hundreds of organizations. So this survey is sent to lakhs of employees belonging to hundreds of different organizations. They ask a simple question, but it is a very powerful question. They ask whether and they ask it to all the employees whether they will recommend their friends and family members to join this organization or not. Depending on the employees' willingness, respondents' willingness to positively recommend their organization to their friends and family, they come up with the ranking. That is the very important, perhaps the most significant aspect of the survey. But it is not the only question based on which the comprehensive list is prepared. They also look at image, economic footprint, talent development, gender equality and social responsibility related aspects of management, and employees or respondents are also asked about these aspects. This is the list of the recently acknowledged as great places to work and Forbes best employers. You can read about these organizations more on the Great Place to Work website or the Forbes best employers website. You can also get information about these organizations and their HR processes in the various sources on internet. The field of management which studies the positive aspect of employer-employee relationships and positive aspects of the workplace is known as Positive Organization Scholarship, or in short form it is called POS. POS arises from the branch of positive psychology. Positive psychology, as we know, is a study of human potential and positive characteristics of human personality. Positive psychology looks at positive strengths, positive emotions, and also has started looking at positive institutions and positive events in the human life. Arising from this fundamental field of positive psychology, Positive Organization Scholarship also studies positive organization behavior, that includes positive practices, the effect of positive practices, the impact of positive practices on the employee behavior, and as it is primarily studied in the business organizations, it looks at the impact of these positive aspects on the business results. In the Positive Organization Scholarship, they look at various positive practices like respectfulness, treatment with the integrity, care, and we will be looking at the list of several practices being studied in the POS. The linkage is that these practices results into positive feeling or positive effects on the employees. That positive effect result into employee commitment, satisfaction and well-being. There are a lot of research studies which have established these linkages. When there are positive effects in terms of the commitment or well-being or satisfaction, that naturally results into positive individual behavior. Positive individual behavior meaning employee would like to stay with the organization for a long time, they will try out new things, they will be taking more initiatives, they will be more cooperative, they will be keeping organizational benefit for whenever they are making any decisions, they will not be consciously harming the organization or will not indulge into theft or indiscipline which hurts organization and its productivity. Naturally, that will result into better organizational performance and that will be reflected in the profitability or the efficiency or more robust and sound processes being followed in organization. We need to recognize that this linkage is a long term process, and it requires a conscious efforts and investment by the employee as well as employer to reach to its fruition. Cameron and his colleague have looked at what are the prominent positive practices in various organizations. The study which was quoted in the previous slide was exploratory in nature. They compiled various positive practices being discussed in the literature, and based on the existing literature they prepare the battery of 114 questions about positive practices. They ran this data through a large number of respondents in a financial sector company in their first study. We are going to look at that study a little in more detail in just a minute from now. Based on the responses of the data from a financial company and the many, I think about 40 units, 40 subunits of that organization, they culled out these 6 positive practices. These positive practices are about caring, compassionate support, forgiveness, inspiration, meaning, respect, integrity and gratitude. These were the 6 factors emerged through exploratory factor analysis of the data collected on 114 items related to various positive practices. Caring here means people care for and are interested and maintain the responsibility for one another as friends, not as competitors. Compassionate support is about people providing support for one another, including kindness and compassion when others are struggling in their professional or personal front. Forgiveness, many a time people are not able to give their best, and even at times with the good intentions for the benefit of the organization and the stakeholders, they at times make mistakes and make errors. Being practice of forgiveness about those errors, that is another very important practice identified as the positive practice in the POS. Inspiration, people being inspired to contribute to the greater cause, people being inspired to contribute for the greater cause and inspiring each other to give their best performance to realize that cause, to meet that cause. Meaning is another positive practice, that means people finding their work meaningful. They are able to see that their work, they are not just a cog in the huge wheel called organization, but they can see their performance, their role has a positive impact on their organization and also on the society. Respect, integrity and gratitude is another practice, another set of practice rather. It is about people treating each other with the respect, with dignity and helping each other to maintain their integrity. They are having trust in each other and having gratitude towards organization and towards each other. So, these are the positive practices dimensions identified in the Cameron's work, in the work of Cameron and his colleagues, and they conducted this study on 2 very different sites. The objective of this study was to look at whether positive practices make business organizations have to earn profit. If they do not earn profit, they cannot survive, they cannot conduct their business, they cannot exist, and if they cannot exist, what good they can do to their employees to their internal, who are the internal stakeholders, or to their customers, suppliers or society, which are the external stakeholders. So, we need not to look at positive organization practice as instrument to to earn more profit, but nonetheless we need to examine whether that profitability and positive organization practices need not be at the loggerhead to each other. They should not be the zero sum game, and this is a open question whether these good things also support or at least do not hinder earning profit and achieving business results. So, the first study was in the financial service business unit. Paper authors write that they chose financial service business unit because by nature of the business, organization processes and organization conversations were predominantly focused on wealth creation. For them, making profit is the most important objective because of the very nature of the function was like that. So, they conducted the survey in that organization where by nature people have to talk about money, people have to be very conscious about the financial profit and generating financial wealth for the internal stakeholders. And when they conducted this study in about 40 subunits of the financial service business unit, they found that there was a significant association between financial performance, positive work climate, and that has a negative association with the employee turnover and turnover intentions, and also senior executive evaluation about the organization was higher where the positive practices were more prevalent. So, this was one study, and second study was conducted in an altogether different unit, which was by nature aimed at providing care and concern to the internal and external stakeholders, that is healthcare unit. In the healthcare unit, we know the main internal stakeholders are the doctors and nurses. Many of them, or we can say most of them, join this profession out of their love for humanity, out of their inspiration to serve humanity. So, this was naturally an organization where some of the positive organization practices would be followed. So, that is why they looked at this study, they looked at the positive organization practices in the healthcare unit as well to see whether it is relevant, these practices are relevant and add up to the organizational effectiveness. Organizational effectiveness for the healthcare units would be about customer satisfaction, service delivery, and quality of the care, managerial support, etc. So, those things are the outcome for the healthcare unit. And in this study also authors found that positive organization practices result into improvement in the improvement in the turnover numbers, means the intention to quit amongst the employees, whether doctors or nurses, that was lower in those health units which were having more positive practices. Patient satisfaction was high, organizational climate was more positive, employee participation in the organization was higher where the positive practices were more prevalent, quality of care, management support and resource adequacy were also higher in those units where there was more positive organization practices. So, we can see in this study that positive organization practices have positive impact on the or positive association on organizational effectiveness, whether it is organization which by nature focuses on wealth creation, financial wealth creation, or whether it is an organization which by nature is oriented towards service and care. We need to understand as HR student why these positive organization practices have positive impact or favorable impact on organizational effectiveness. So, in the same paper, Cameron and colleague talk about 3 lines or 3 aspects of the effects of the positive practices: amplifying effect, buffering effect and heliotropic effect. Amplifying effect comes from a very basic theory of positive organization scholarship or positive psychology. That theory is known as broaden and build theory. Broaden and build theory suggests that our ability and propensity to experience more positive emotions increases if we experience few positive emotions. Means if I experience one positive emotion like gratitude, there is my propensity and ability to experience other positive emotion like wisdom or like courage, that increases. So, that logic also applies in the organizational setting. When there are positive practices about respect, care or compassion or forgiveness, even these few practices, if they are started, that result into other practices and other positive behaviors naturally. So, one positive characteristic build or leads to next positive characteristic and that virtuous cycle goes on, and that is the amplifying effect of the positive practices in organizations. What is the buffering effect? Buffering effect is that irrespective of the nature of industry or the nature of market or the economy, any organization faces, all organizations have to sometime face some downturn. It may be because of the novel technology, maybe because of the increasing competition, change in regulation, or there can be so many other factors because of which organization face challenge. The positive practices in the organization also work as buffer against negativity within and outside of the organizational environment. So, that builds the sense of solidarity and positive culture and resilience, which is very helpful in the difficult times. So, it is important for organization to keep on looking, keep on investing, keep on promoting positive practices, because it is not only helpful in the good times, it builds resilience and solidarity, which is very useful in the tough time, in the challenging times, and no organization can say that they will never face any challenge irrespective of whatever resources they have or whatever however attractive market they are operating. Third effect is heliotropic effect. Heliotropic word comes from helio and tropism. Helio means light, tropism means movement. Heliotropic effect is related to human tendency to be attracted towards positive aspects of life. That is why it is compared with lighting. So, when there are positive practices, organizations result into fostering the positive energy amongst the members, and positive energy produces elevated performance. So, positive energy naturally results into better performance because the concentration is higher, people have less hassle about their work, people are more helpful to each other naturally and they feel like contributing. So, heliotropic effect is the another reason why positive organization practices result into organizational effectiveness. Another aspect through which we can better understand the positive employer-employee relationship or positive organization behavior or positive organizational practices from the humanistic management point of view. Before understanding humanistic management point of view, we need to understand that most of the management is focused on either the basic assumption about homo economicus, which is more of a utilitarian theory, and or it is based on agency theory, which is about the resourceful, evaluative, maximizing view of human being. First, we will understand what is the basic assumption about human nature in the two most prominently influential models of management. The first most prominently influential model of economics, which in turn became a major basic assumption about most of the management thinking, is about the utility optimizer view of human being. Utility optimizer view gives rise to the concept of homo economicus, which says that human beings are utility optimizer. They maximize their utility, they want to acquire more, it is more power, more resources, more security. They are cold hearted, rational being who are seeking maximizing or enhancing their utility in whatever wherever they are operating. There was a slight modification on these assumptions given in the agency theory. Agency theory is based on more resourceful, evaluative and maximizing view of human being, which says that human beings are not always utility optimizers, but they are maximizers of the utility, and they are looking for resources and they are constantly evaluating their options and constantly choosing those options which are more attractive, which are more profitable utility wise in the day to day interactions. In comparison to these models, humanistic model is based on humanistic view of human nature. Humanistic view suggests that foundation of human behavior are not wants, they are not desires. The foundation of human nature are drives. Drives are more biological in nature and they are being acquired by human being in the process of evolution. So, want looks at only the resource optimizer, logical, rational aspect of human nature, whereas humanistic view, which is talking about drive, look at our hard wiring. It is looking at evolution, it is looking at the behavior which is being acquired by human being through the process of evolution. We will be looking at what are the basic drives and how they, if they are considered, they can influence the management perspective. In the economist view, the goal is considered to be maximization of the utility, or whatever they are doing, they want to maximize power, their acquisition, their benefits. Whereas humanistic view suggests that there are multiple goals of human life which may look contradictory to each other. For example, I wish to spend time in nature or with family and also have to spend more and more time at work so that I can earn more money. So, economist view will focus on how I am maximizing the needs. However, humanistic view will suggest that no human being can maximize their utility. They are constantly looking out to balance their different needs for spending time with family, needs for personal growth, needs for spiritual reflection, and also need for economic prosperity. So, there is no possibility of maximizing the so human beings do not work for maximizing the economic prosperity, they work for achieving a fine balance between enhancing economic prosperity and also spending time with the family and spending time in nature, reflection, pursuing their hobbies, etc. So, naturally the operating modes being used by economist or humanist will be different. So, economist view looks at fixed utility curves, opportunity sets, whereas humanistic view look at human behavior from the perspective of how they change routine, how they keep learning new things, and how they apply practical wisdom to achieve balance across different human pursuits. Focal point for economists are individual. They do not consider that individuals do not operate in isolation. They are always in connection with others. That other can be family, community, or larger society. So, humanistic view looks at relational aspect of human being. In the pursuit of maximization of the utility, role of dignity is not considered in the economist view, whereas humanistic view considers role of dignity to be very important in making any decision or making any policy. Role of morality in the economist or in the economist view is not fully understood. It is mainly related to fourth level of the Kohlberg schema of moral reasoning, which talks about maintaining legality and following the norms of the community, or in the case of nation state, following the norm as set by the law of the land. Whereas moral reasoning can be much beyond just following law. It can be about following the fundamental values of truth, beauty, and goodness, and considering our personal life as part of the universal life and having the universal perspective, which is at the level 6 of the Kohlberg's moral reasoning schema. Humanistic view considers the ultimate highest level of moral reasoning as well, whereas economist view generally limit their moral perspective and their moral assumptions limited to the pre-conventional and conventional, which is about avoiding harm, seeking benefit, following rules or following norms of your community. Aspiration for economist view are about creating wealth, acquiring status or power, and building the reputation, whereas aspiration for humanistic view is achieving well-being. So, in this process, economist view focuses on utility maximization and humanistic view focusing on learning and practical wisdom as the basic mechanism based on which people make their decisions or choices. These are the two different things based on which individuals are understood, based on which policies of HR can be designed. So, now we will have more discussion on the humanistic management. Humanistic management, as I just mentioned, looks at the 4 basic drives. It does not focuses on the want to expand the utility. It looks at drive, which is more biological in nature. So, human beings have drive to acquire, they want to hold things, they want to have things in their control, particularly food, etc. Human beings have drive to defend, they want to have their territory where they want to exercise their authority or have more control on their lives. Along with these 2 drives, which are very well captured in the economist view as well, and there are 2 other drives human beings have. Those are drive to bond, because of the drive to bond, family living started, community was built, and drive to comprehend. Human beings wish to look at their position in the larger schema of things. They wish to look at how they are contributing to the larger scheme of things. Maybe at the currently we understand this to be how they are contributing to the organization, to their nation, etc. So they want to, so the meaning and purpose actually derives from, meaning and purpose is derived from the drive to comprehend. So we know that drive to bond and drive to comprehend are also result of human evolution. We can easily understand that in order to survive, human beings had to have drive to defend and drive to hold, because if they do not protect their body, if they would not protect their food, they could not survive. So naturally they have drive to acquire what is needed to live, and to have a drive to defend the territory within which they can feel safe. So drive to bond and drive to comprehend, humanistic thinkers point out, are also fundamental and developed independently. They are not the outcome of other two drives. How they are developed? Lawrence and Noria are being quoted extensively in the book, in this particularly in this chapter of the Humanistic Management, the book by Michael Pearson on the same name with the same title. They say that drive to bond emerged when human ancestors transitioned from Homo habilis to Homo erectus, when human being started to walk on the 2 feet. This is the state where the role of family in the human life got strengthened. That was also a time when human being learned the controlled use of fire. With the controlled use of fire, they could start cooking the food. Because of this, their ability to cook the food or to heat it up, they could preserve the food for the longer time. If they could preserve the food for the longer time, naturally the need to save the food and safety was important, and that gave rise to the family structure, because in the family female would look after the small kids and also protect the food. So family became the first institution in the human life wherein they started experiencing the collective form of living. Drive to comprehend emerged during the shift from Homo erectus to Homo sapiens, because when they realized that there is no point in keep fighting with each other, if large number of people can work together, they can, and if they can form the norms, they can not only protect themselves, but they can do much more than what they can do individually. For example, they can hunt the bigger animals, they could build the shelters, they can prevent themselves from the invasions of the other animals, etc. So because of all these situations, they developed the sense of norm and their role in the larger group and eventually in the larger scheme of things. So drive to bond and drive to comprehend developed independently and has its own distinct prevalence in the human nature. With time, it got hardwired in the neural network and the genetic structure. There are large number of studies which suggest that kids who are not socialized also demonstrate the habits, demonstrate the behavior related to bonding and related to caring for the others. So we need to take into account all 4 drives. Humanistic management suggests that we cannot maximize on one drive. because all drives are equally important. It is very similar to Indian notion of Chaturvarg or 4 Purusharthas. Indian perspective, and which is being mentioned in Mahabharata and at many places in the Upanishads as well, that human life has 4 objectives: Artha, Dharma, Kam and Moksha. Arth is the financial aspect or economic aspect or material aspect. Kam is the aspect of consumption. Dharma is the aspect of righteousness, and Moksha is the spiritual aspect. All 4 aspects are important as pursuits of human life. It is very similar to what is being reflected in the humanistic management, which says that the pursuit about maximizing utility, building relationship, seeing their purpose, their self-esteem and seeing their role in the larger scheme of things. All these things are nested in the different drives, and no one drive can be maximized. We have to balance these drives, and every human being has to have some basic need to fulfill all the drives which is beyond need satisfaction, and that is called dignity. Meaning, according to the drive of acquisition, person must have food to eat, shelter to live, have some social support, some structure and opportunity to contribute to the social structure to which it is part of. So, that is in the humanistic management is considered to be the dignity threshold. This dignity threshold has to be maintained in a group, in organization and also in the larger society. This dignity threshold being available, human being strive for excellence, strive for growth. For that growth, they are not supposed to maximize any of these. Generally, they have to balance all 4 of these. Particularly in the organization, that is the case. For that, it is not the maximization which works. For that, they need to apply the practical wisdom, and with that practical wisdom, they can achieve higher and higher level of well-being. Humanistic management says that if we devise the HR policies and organizational policies according to these basic assumptions about human nature and how they lead their life, we can have positive organization behavior, we can have positive relations between employer and employee, and also very positive relation between business organization and the larger society. Humanistic model and HR processes, we can look at how they are closely linked. Drive to acquire is related to salary, the tools available for working, basic hygiene condition. Many of you might remember hygiene and motivation theory of Herzberg. It talks about things which motivate at work do not prevent the dissatisfaction, or things which prevent dissatisfaction not necessarily result into motivation. Things which prevent dissatisfaction are basic availability of the space, in most of the cases it is salary, their ability to put forth their requirements, all these are the hygiene conditions, and these are related to drive to acquire. Human beings also need clarity about what is their territory, how their performance will be evaluated, and also look for inputs to carry out their day-to-day work. And for that, we looked at HR processes like job description, job analysis, performance management system, training and development. These are the inputs which make people comfortable in their roles, and that is the satisfaction they get, because they have a sense of boundary, they have a sense of their own space wherein they can perform, and by performing over there they can be insured about their acquisitions, they can be insured about their salary, etc. And being in that space, they also wish to have positive relations. Every employee thinks of working, every employee look forward to work in a positive environment where people have sense of teamwork, where organization has positive climate of openness, trust, creative problem solving, opportunity to take initiatives, etc. So these are related to drive to bond. On the employee engagement and career development, we have a full session. It is related to drive to bond and drive to comprehend. Drive to bond arises from the social nature of human being. That aspect must be taken care of in the HR processes, and that happens by enhancing engagement practices, by building teams and creating more and more opportunity for the open communication, so that people can resolve their conflict amicably and work as community. But that is not sufficient for human beings. They also need to know how they are contributing, how their work is contributing towards larger scheme of things, how their work is meaningful in the overall scheme of organization and its role in society, and that is related to drive to comprehend. Drive to comprehend is satisfied when organizations have clear mission and purpose and have HR processes, leadership, organization culture which help people to find out their meaning and purpose in their work and give them opportunity to live that meaning and purpose. Are these nice things only? Are these good things to have, or do these things have coherence with the business objectives? So McKinsey study being carried out by Dhingra and the other authors' names are given in this slide. They suggest that people who live their purpose at work, they are found to be more productive, they are healthier, they are resilient. So after the personal or organizational crisis, they can come back to the same level of performance again in much faster way if they find their work meaningful and purposeful, and they are also more likely to stay in the company. When personal purpose and organization purpose are aligned, that leads to high level of employee engagement, heightened loyalty and greater willingness to recommend the company to others. So you might remember the very second slide in this session, we talked about Forbes Best Employer Survey. We can connect this slide with that second one, where we looked at sense of teamwork, camaraderie or positive recommendation about the organization towards friends and family. All these things are connected to drive to bond and drive to comprehend. That is our basic nature of working in the community, our urge to be part of the community, and also our urge to seek meaning and purpose in what we do. This is assured, this is the result of this McKinsey study as well. We can look at this study in a more nuanced way and to make sense of whether meaning and purpose is prevalent in all levels of organization or not. That is an important question. And what is found in this study is that frontline managers are less likely to say that they find their work meaning, they find meaning in purpose in their work. Whereas managers, middle level or senior level managers are more likely to look at their work as something which is giving them meaning and purpose. So this situation has clear implication on the HR function. HR function need to give the attention to the fact that it is 10 times less likely than management level colleague to say that they have had opportunity to reflect on their purpose in case of frontline managers. And frontline managers and employee are 9 times less likely to say that they would had a manager foster opportunities for them to work on purposeful project. And that is where HR has to play a very important role. They need to communicate to the managers that managers have a very important responsibility towards the frontline managers and employees to make them see role of their job, the importance of their job in the larger scheme of things. Since they are generally focused on the small territory or the small part of a large, small part of the very big job, many a time, and in this survey it is coming out most of the time, they are not able to see how their work is contributing to the larger level success and larger positive impact of their work on the organization and role of their organization in the society. So it is important for managers to communicate this to the frontline managers and employees that how their work is contributing to the larger scheme of things. And it is HR's role to communicate this and sensitize the managers about this need. How they can do it? They can do it in the 3-step process as being suggested by these authors. These 3 steps are start, reflect and help. Start with organization purpose. Look at how organization purpose captures meaning and purpose for everybody who is part of the organization. They need to create opportunity to reflect and connect and keep doing this process so that they do not forget that even their seemingly small contribution is contributing to the realization of the mission and purpose of organization, and helping people to live their purpose at work. Many a time people may have different aptitude towards contributing to different kinds of job. Many a time people would like to contribute towards certain thing, but they may require some developmental inputs that can be given in the form of coaching, mentoring, training, and that can help people to not only contribute to the larger meaning and purpose, not only contribute more to realize the mission and purpose of the organization, but also will help frontline managers to see that they are contributing. In the nutshell, the best employee relations are reflected in the trust, fairness and respect. Trust is about my belief in other party, that and that party can be manager or organization, that it has authenticity. It is behaving as if it's supposed to behave. It is behaving according to its deeper intentions. Logic aspect of trust is my belief that person has the necessary intellectual wherewithal, intellectual resources, capability to do what it is promising. And empathy is the third most important component of trust. The perception in other party that person is not only having capability, not only is transparent in terms of representing in his or her behavior what he or she intends to, but also has ability to understand my pain, understand myself. That is the empathy. So authenticity, logic and empathy are the building blocks of trust, whether it is trust between two employees, employee and manager or employee managers on their organization. Second is fairness. Fairness is about procedural justice and distributive justice. People should be able to see the great place and great employers are those where people see, employees see that the rewards and recognition or punishment is given to people as it is justifiable. The process through which rewards, punishment or recognition is given is transparent and it is justifiable, and it is available, it is given to different people without any bias. This is the procedural and distributive justice which builds the foundation of fairness. And third is respect. Best employee relations are reflected in the form of dignity and not bullying. Bullying is also a very fruitful, very rich field of research, because bullying is very much prevalent in organization. Bullying may be verbal, maybe in the on the electronic communication, maybe in the form of actions. So bullying is opposite to respect, and respect means acknowledging the need for dignity, acknowledging the dignity of the human being, dignity related to the basic drive about acquisition, about shelter, about food, about basic drive towards having the social relationship, and drive to make sense of how they are contributing to the larger scheme of things. So there is a basic of all these four drives must be satisfied, and that is the aspect of dignity, and that is called dignity, and it is equally important aspect of the best employee relations at work. How we can do that? How organization can build the great places to work? Organization can build great place to work by identifying the right HR policies and procedures according to the four drives we just explained. This also requires constant employee communication, employee development, employee involvement, and employee recognition. Employee communication can be in the form of regular email, town halls, open forums, opportunity to interact with the top management more frequently. Organizations have to identify various ways to communicate with employees. Employee development, we discussed about this aspect in the training and development related sessions. Employee involvement, we talked about different communication plans, we talked about quality circles, total quality management, engagement of the employees in the development of the processes and systems, cross functional teams, self-directed teams. There are many interventions through which employee involvement can be increased. Employee involvement has almost no limit. Many organizations also have representative of their employees on the board. So up to the highest level of leadership, up to the highest level of the management forum, employee involvement is possible, and employee involvement is practiced in many organizations. That is one important way of making a great place to work. Then employee recognition, we discussed about the recognition, financial and non-financial rewards. We need to understand that what we recognize is what is promoted in organization. If we promote loyalty, if we recognize loyalty, it will get promoted. If we recognize innovation, that will be promoted. If we recognize informally the organization employees' ability to circumvent the process or maximize their benefit within the legal means, that will be promoted in the organization. So we must understand that people are always observing what is being recognized in the organization. Whatever is being recognized is naturally gets promoted in the organization behavior an organization culture. I would like to give two examples of the two organizations which have featured in Great Place to Work. First organization is Marico. Marico operates on three basic principles: open environment, empowerment, friendly and informal environment. It is following a as flat organization structure as possible. So, they have decided that they would be not more than 5 reporting levels between managing director and blue collared workmen on the shop floor. They have a strong talent management process. Talent management for the new recruits in the form of summer trainees. Many summer trainees are given the job offers. So, summer trainees are assessed very carefully, and they are trained very consciously. They have robust performance management system which is very participative in nature. So, this is one example of an Indian organization where they have implemented the employee involvement, employee recognition, employee development in a very coherent way. I would like to give example of another organization which is newer organization. So, Marico is the old organization, it is there it is operating in the Indian market since last few decades, and Indus Tower is fairly new organization established in 2007. It is a joint venture of the leading telecom entities Bharti, Vodafone and Aditya Birla Group. It is world's largest telecom tower company and offers telecom infrastructure to all the telecom companies in India. They also have very well crafted processes. They not only have the brand about those processes, but those processes are thoroughly followed in organization, and that is why Indus Tower has featured in the Great Place to Work. It has IXL program, which is a leadership development program. It has a succession planning, very clear succession planning, not only at the corporate level but the circle level as well. So, they operate in the 8 or 9 circles. So, within the circles also there are clear succession planning. They have switched to cloud based HR process. So, lot of HR processes which used to be handled at the circle level are now transferred to the center level, and that has increased the efficiency and reduced the wastage of the efforts at the circle level. They also have a career pathing program. People can multi-skill themselves and are provided flexibility to move from one vertical to another or one field, one function to another. That is, they have branded this process with the term Lakshya. They have strong graduate engineering program, and they follow a principle which is hire for attitude, train for skills. So, they hire for the positive attitude from the campuses and invest heavily on training the people on the skills. They have a very comprehensive appraisal system and a very clear redressal mechanism. So, if employee do not agree with the ratings, they have a clear and safe redressal system. They have very clearly defined awards and recognition. LNOD not only focuses on the skill related inputs, it is also focused on the behavioral training, supervisory development, leadership development, and they are also developing a decision support system wherein employees' decision is viewed from the data, and this system helps people to make better sense of the data available for each employee, and that helps in making better decisions next time. So, it is a sophisticated decision support system which help organization to best utilize the data available to them. They have very active, rather proactive diversity program, no discrimination policy and fair opportunity policies, and they also have interventions related to enhancing well-being, social connection and fun at work. These processes and these activities are available, they are there in this organization, not just on the papers. These are being lived through, these are connected to the different KRAs of the HR and L&OD teams, and as a result of that they have very positive culture and they are featuring in the list of the great place to work. So these are the two examples which suggest that how positive organizational practices can be converted into HR processes and systems, which in turn can make the workplace enjoyable, productive at the same time. Though we are talking about all positive aspects of work and the positive practices, we need to recognize that irrespective of all the positive intentions and positive practices in organization, there will be A, B and C category performers in any organization. A performers meaning those who contribute most significantly, exceptionally, and there are studies which suggest that 20% of the best performers actually contribute to the 80% of the organizational outcome. There will always be B level performers who are consistent performers. They may not give very high level or exceptional performance, but they are consistently performing well in their roles. So these are the B performers, and there will always be C performers, C level performers who work barely acceptable, or they do not enjoy their work, are not able to contribute what is minimally expected from them. So we need to have policy to deal with the C level performers. HR processes must be geared up to identify the C performers. That means there has to be a good job description and performance management process. There has to be an agreement on the explicit action plan if an organization is found to be of C category, because some C category people can improve with coaching and training and some other developmental inputs. But if willingness and skill both are low in C level performers, there are very less chances of the C level performer going up in the performance ladder. So for the cases like these, there has to be a clear cut process to let go these C performers from the department or from the organization. In that process, HR and line manager have to work in sync, have to work jointly, so that no unfair decision is not taken against the C performers, but there has to be a mechanism through which C level performers can be identified and can be asked to leave the department or organization if it is necessary. For that, there has to be clear performance criteria and organization policy. That can be different in different industries. That is why it cannot be explained in detail over here in this session, but we must recognize at least that there has to be a policy and process of recognition of the C performers. Each organization has to have a good disciplinary policy as well. We cannot expect all the people doing always right things, even if organization have all the intentions to implement all positive practices and all positive things in the organization. There might be incidences where people will not follow the norms. People will slip and caught not following the best practices. For that, organizations always have to have disciplinary policy. A good and fair disciplinary policy has to have clear rules and regulation, penalties which has to be of the graded level. When you are found to commit indiscipline first time, there has to be some penalty. If it is repeated in next few weeks or months, the severity of the penalty should increase, and if the repetition again happens, there has to be more severe penalty. When employee is levied a penalty, he or she has to be given chance and there has to be a forum where he or she can explain his perspective, his take about the incidents, and that committee should work according to the process and free from bias. These are the three basic pillars, three main pillars of a fair discipline process. A discipline should be ensured as much as possible without punishment. So, first step is generally oral reminder about the indiscipline. If the incidence arises again, then there has to be a formal written reminder or warning where a person can be asked to go for the leave, and there has to be a process about the inquiry and appeal, and if things are proved, there has to be a process of dismissal in certain cases. So, discipline, process and the penalties have to be of the graded nature. That is where we end our discussion about the positive organizational practices and its connection with the HR systems and processes. So, in this session we looked at the positive practices in organizations, how HR systems and processes can incorporate positive aspects in organization, and we also looked at that in spite of the deep intentions about implementing positive practices, there can be incidences about indiscipline, there can be incidences about lack of performance. So, an organization has to have positive practice, but also have to have processes to deal with the poor performers and to deal with the indiscipline being done by the employees.